All right, so here we're going to talk about what's known as attribution theory. And what attribution theory does is it helps teachers to understand student motivation. In general, attribution theory analyzes why students believe that certain events cause them to be motivated or not motivated. So relative to math, many students believe that past negative experiences with other teachers are the reason for their poor performance now when they're in algebra. So that's an example of an attribution. Let me give another. So for instance, a kind of a concrete example, if a student fails an algebra test, they usually attribute their failure to something. Let's say they attribute their performance to, they could say, well, I'm just bad at math. I'm not good at math. Maybe they think, well, the reason I fail is because my algebra teacher is horrible. Maybe they think, maybe they say, well, I didn't have time to study. I had sports and church activities and whatever else, and I didn't have time to study, and that's why I did poorly. So there's a variety of reasons they attribute to their score, their results. So the student's perceived cause of their failure is directly associated with future motivation. And the next slide explains what's going on here, why. So let's say, for example, that some student perceived the cause of their failure because they didn't put enough time in studying. All right, their effort, lack of effort. In this case, they have a high probability of improving in later tests and so forth. Why? Because if they attribute their performance to their lack of studying, well, that's something they have control over. They can sit down next time and spend more time studying. They have control over that. However, if a student perceives their failure in algebra to be attributed to their ability, their lack of ability to do math, well, most students, if they think they're bad at math, they just think they're bad at math and there's nothing they can do about it. They think it's fixed. They're bad at math, period, no matter what I do. And if they think they're bad at math, then, and it doesn't matter what they do, why would they spend the time studying? Because they believe they're bad. It doesn't matter what I do, I'm not going to do well anyways. So it's kind of a circle here that the thought tells them not to study. They don't study, which they're not going to do well, and it's kind of this vicious cycle. If a student believes they lack ability, teachers can influence their thinking. How can they do that? By continually and regularly, on a regular, let me use the word frequent basis, give positive feedback on assignments, tests, homework, whatever. Comments like, great job, good try. Maybe even if they didn't do well, good try. You're working hard. That's good to see, and I can see that the result of working hard, your grades, your understanding is increased. Keep it up. Things like that help. When giving feedback, when the teacher gives feedback, the goal is to help the student realize that their outcome in algebra is associated with effort. If they put the effort in, they can do well in algebra. Are they going to get an A or an A? Maybe not. But they can get a C. They can pass it with a decent grade. And this is a whole nother theory in learning. They can do well. Anyone can do well. Or at least get a C, or they can do that. And another thing that research has discovered is our intelligence, it's not fixed. even though a lot of people think, well, if I'm bad at math, I'm bad and I can't change that. We can, our IQ can actually go up and over time. And it's kind of our IQ is not fixed. But anyways, back to this. So for an example, let's say a student struggles with identifying what formula to use in a given situation. And then you're looking at an assignment and they picked the right formula. They did it correctly. Right on the paper, good job. You recognize the right formula. I can tell you must have been studying hard on these formulas. Good work. Keep it up. And these things can have a long-lasting effect. And that's kind of this one of the last slides here is teachers, our actions, our comments, they do have a long-lasting effect on students, and we want that effect to be positive. During class, no matter what question is asked, don't ever be demeaning, like, well, that's a stupid question, or even in our just the way we react. We got to be careful of that. There is no stupid question. There really isn't. The only stupid question is the question that's not asked. Why is that stupid, if you will? The reason why is because if you don't ask, you can't get the help. And if you don't get the help, you're not going to know what to do to figure it out. And then you're back to that vicious cycle again. And you're not going to do well. So it's important that we have an atmosphere in our classroom where students are comfortable, that they're not going to feel embarrassed by raising their hand, asking a question, and so forth. And the information I got here was taken from, I took this out of one article as I do in most of these videos, but there's several other articles that support this type of research.